Yeah.
So like that side of my family, there's always been like this Western cousins and stuff like doing pro rodeo. But then on the other hand, I had like older brothers that are total punk rockers with like we had like a half pipe in the backyard. So I grew up in this weird thing where like to me, those two worlds were always just kind of normal, you know?
Whenever I need music gear, I always go to sweetwater.com. If it's mics, headphones, or studio and recording gear, Sweetwater has you covered. Next time you need any music gear, support the podcast by using the link in the description and comment section below. It's always fascinating to me how you hear when you casually find a band.
Yeah.
You know, and was like, how do you do that? I love, and then I reheard Spiritworld from a mutual friend, Mike Gitter. Oh, you gotta check out this band called Spiritworld, and they combine thrash, death metal, and Western. And I was like, oh, I just heard them and saw like the artwork like a few months prior. I think Deathwestern just dropped, and I just randomly saw it, and it's. I don't even know how you do that. Like when you just randomly see a band or come across an artist. First off, like the band name Spiritworld is perfect. It's sick. Love it.
Yeah.
That's the hardest thing when you combine two words, simple words, and then you just combine them. Those tend to stick a lot.
Yeah, and it's important to me, like, trying to do this project, because I ripped that straight from Young Guns. And so, like,
really?
I had the
wow.
idea. And so, like, on our demo, like, the original pressing of it, it, like, starts with, like, a sample from Young Guns where it's like, why aren't they killing us? It's when they're, like, tripping on peyote going through this Indian village.
Yeah.
And they're like, why ain't they killing us? We're in the spirit world, asshole. They can't see us. And so...
Really?
Yeah, so, like... I don't know. I just like ran with the whole Western thing. Like I kind of had that thought out before. So
of course,
it's funny now, like couple, 2-3 years in, especially with the artwork. And now that we're touring more, I get a lot of people that are just like the combination of like thrash and Western and horror and all this. Like that's the thing that I think separates a band the most. And that was the hardest idea to come up with. You know what I mean? Like to get excited to do a project. When I put all that together, like the most thought went into, the aesthetic and like how do I build some sort of world,
It looks, sounds, the whole thing is very, you could tell it's very well thought out, and it's, and for you, I assume it goes very deep. You're like your bloodline and your lineage, like your parents came from Texas and then moved to Nevada. I'm not sure how close they moved to Vegas.
Yeah, they were on my mom's side, that's like the cowboy side of my family. They came up from Texas, and it was probably in the 30s, 40s. And so a couple hours north of Las Vegas, they had a ranch out there that they worked cattle in. It was just a working like cowboy ranch for like as my mom grew up. So when my grandfather passed away, like she was left that and they sold it. Then she met my dad and kind of like mid-60s, moved to Vegas. But for like a big chunk of time, like she grew up like walking to like a little schoolhouse, like prairie land shit, like total just hillbilly.
Yeah.
So like that side of my family, there's always been like this Western, like, cousins and stuff like doing pro rodeo. But then on the other hand, I had like older brothers that are total punk rockers with like we had like a half pipe in the backyard. So I grew up in this weird thing where like to me, those two worlds were always just kind of normal, It's like you get in the car with mom listening to Johnny Cash and George Jones. And then if my older brother gets in, it's like Misfits,
Slayer.
Social D, Slayer. It's so like being like little, like you don't know what any of that is. And then as I got super into punk rock and hardcore and stuff. And then you realize how weird that is to grow up in a family where it's like, those are like the two things I was most excited about musically, like country and like super underground shit,
Yeah, it's crazy how that just subconsciously, like just kind of stuck with you. You
Yeah.
know? It's weird.
And you have that like it's kind of like the push and pull, because at one point like I definitely got way away from like reading westerns and kind of getting like just wasn't as excited about that stuff. And then 10 years goes by and you revisit it and you're even more excited, you know. And country music too, like I've never liked stuff like the pop country stuff, but like the old honky tonk outlaw country. And then I was lucky enough, like I caught that wave of alt country bands, so I followed that as closely, still do, as I do like thrash and death metal. So it's like having a band where I can like subtly combine all the things I like in a way that still fits in with like the heavy metal, hardcore, thrash scene is pretty cool, you know.
It sounds like you like discovered it because I mean you're putting out demos and singles from 2017 to Dunny Nights. You have the demo, Viper Blood, Spiritworld. You could like, and then you drop your first record, Pagan Rhythms, and that's obviously like a massive jump.
Yeah.
So is that like were you like revisiting these memories from like your childhood, like around there?
I think what it was I just decided I wanted to do I wanted to make a record, not really be in a band that was like functional, like with bandmates and touring.
Sure.
But I had this idea of like, I want to put a lot of energy into like making a really good record. And I was going to do more of like a punk rock country thing, like the demo. And I had like a bunch of it written. But as I started learning how to like demo and like track shit, started building out a little studio. As soon as I could, like, I had Easy Drummer. Like Easy Drummer 2, and like I started going through the loops, and then I'm like buying packs, and I got Matt from Hatebreed put out a drum loop pack.
Oh,
right?
the fucking drum loop packs, dude. Those are incredible.
I wasn't good at like doing the MIDI, but then I got like a drum loop pack from him, and
he had one.
Yeah, and it had like a couple like simple breakdowns that I could just steal. So he had like, basically that was it. So then I'm like playing a guitar and all I'm playing is heavy ass shit. And so I just like 180, took a U-turn, wrote Pagan Rhythms, super hard, just all death metal, thrash, hardcore, and whatever, you know. And now it's like, it's grown into its own thing. Like we're about to go tour with Sepultura and like,
I saw that.
in the summer, like the Europe festival run we got going is just like,
wow.
Yeah. And it's only been a couple of years, you know. It's like, it's funny how an idea, like, just change your mind, do something, put everything into it, and it bears fruit pretty quick, you know.
Yeah, I mean, it just looks like you put a lot of time into it. A lot.
Yeah.
From like your first record, like 2001, and then less than 2 years later, I mean, you have, Deathwestern, and then obviously you're doing all these tours, and you're already in Europe with like Obituary and Agnostic Front, and you have all these tours, and now you're touring with Sepultura and Creator. That's in June, right?
Yeah,
June?
that one is, that's like a May, June, like full U.S. Crazy. Death Angels on it too.
Oh,
just
yeah,
like,
sick, dude.
just like, fuck.
Holy shit, dude.
Yeah, man.
Isn't that crazy how like you just make a simple decision, and then like the course of your life just changes, you know?
Yeah, and it's because I was gonna do it as a studio project, and I was like, I'm gonna write a couple heavy records, some like country, some punk rock, just do whatever I want, with no like, not even getting into the industry stuff, you know. Like the idea was just to make the records, put them out, and then maybe I would just go do some festival runs if it, took off. And then next thing you know, it's like I got to get the band together. It's like we're going on tour with Obituary. We played our first show like it's been just over a year, like, and in that time, that's it, man.
Are you serious?
Yeah, we played a couple with like off the demo stuff where we didn't play any heavy stuff because I hadn't written any of the metal yet a couple years ago. But our third show ever was like a year ago. So playing the metal stuff, like we learned the set. Decibel brought us out for the L.A. Decibel Metal and Beer Fest.
Yeah.
And it was like Converge doing Jane Doe
my
one night.
Goodness,
like,
dude.
So that was show number one. It's just like, okay. And then a month or 6 weeks after that, we're on the road with Obituary. Just like, let's go.
Yeah, it seems like it is kind of like built up like naturally. Like the sound is. I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, but it sounds like you didn't even like. There's no pretense at first to have like the sound, and then you kind of like when the sound was developing, it is kind of
Yeah,
Then you use all right. Like this is it.
yeah, it still is to an extent. Like I'm writing the third record right now, and I finally know exactly like what it's gonna sound like. I haven't like because I don't do I get in my older bands and stuff, like getting in a room with all your best friends trying to like write riffs. I just was so tired of that approach that I
for good reasons, I'm sure.
yeah, I mean it's great. Like the energy of that is fantastic. Like it's fun, but like that when you leave that room and like you have a great riff, then you come back the next day and it just isn't the same. And then I hate that. So I just like I like to just write, get the ideas, do it all. So like write the drums, write the guitars, write all the vocals, and then like the next record I'm doing, like I'm combining more crazy influences into it, where it's just going to be like I feel like this is probably the idea that I should have had on the first one. But you need to write the songs, play the shows, tour before it really like you kind of understand where you're headed, you know?
Of course.
So I feel like this new one I'm working on, I want to have it written before we leave for Sepultura and get it so I can get in the studio and be.
Whoa.
Well, I mean, everybody takes several years to do records, but I'm on the other tip. Like I'm pretty inspired. I'm trying to knock shit out of the park, you know?
Yeah, and I mean, for you, I mean, you are the main songwriter. I mean, all of it, like 95% plus. I mean, and that's dude, it's you have to like you locking yourself in the room because I mean, it seems like do all this music. I mean, you're already working on a third record. You're a very prolific dude.
Yeah, and I think it's I had a gap where I still played guitar and like did a lot of stuff. Like I was writing songs, but I didn't share anything. And so I kind of feel a little bit of pressure of like now I'm like I got Century Media behind us.
Yeah.
We're giving them 3 records, so I'm like it's going to be on them to pump the brakes. Like they're going to get a record turned in and then they have in the contract however long to turn it in. So if they want to wait, they're going to have it, you know what I mean? So if they want to push the release, I'm going to try and have it done. I'd like to get it out summer 2024, be like
that's it.
I like trilogies, man. Trilogies are like horror movies, westerns. So I'm going to do these 3 metal records, like, you know, get it while it getting's good.
Yeah, especially, and you got to take advantage of when you're inspired. You got to take advantage of it, dude.
And I got like my buddy Sam Pura that engineers and produces our records. Like me and him work really close together on this stuff. So we both have like the idea for the next record. So it's like I want to get it while it's hot, you know.
Oh my goodness, dude! I had a question. Like, you know, the record's been out for a few months. How you been feeling? And obviously, well, it seems like you're just writing more.
Well, I actually don't. I don't know, man. I listen and I'm so involved in it. By the time it comes out, like I can't really listen to it anymore. And when I do, I'm like, I just hear the things that I nitpick.
Of course.
And so it's cool that everybody likes it and it's getting a great response. So I'm like, okay, cool. But the honest answer is like, I'm over that shit. Like, I'm not the kind of guy that like listens back. Like, I don't listen to Pagan Rhythms anymore. Like, once I finally get them in the can, it's like, I want to write the next thing that like shits all over those records. So I'm kind of like never happy with the whatever I just did. It's great, but like I'm trying to do the.
That's the way it is, man.
Yeah,
you gotta like it's that blessing is like a curse. Like you're always hungry.
Yeah, and it's the creative thing is the best part. Like I like when you just come up with the cool, whether it's a riff or a melody, whatever that is. Like that's my favorite part of all this. When it's like 1 second you're playing guitar, nothing comes out, and you're just like, I fucking suck. Like why do I even bother? There's nothing. Yeah. And then like the next day, something. Yeah. I don't know how it happens exactly. Sometimes the guitar, like I have a Telecaster I do most of my writing on. Not a very metal guitar, but like it just feels like great, you know?
That's one thing I loved when I started doing research. I'm like, plays a Fender Tele. I'm in. Oh, well, I mean, just when like before the research, I like listening to like a discography just going. So I went right when I heard the first demo. You just know that's the Fender Telecaster. And then the second one, and then the other single. And did you use Did you use that same telly for Pagan Rhythms?
No, on that we all of that, because I like on the demos it was written with the telly, and I like did the demos of Pagan Rhythms, but then when we tracked it for real, that was all with a Jim Root. It was a Fender. He has that God, I don't know what it is.
He has
That
20
like
of 'em.
flat black, like heavier than fuck. It's just
Yeah.
like you could like break down doors with that thing.
It's either like the Strat or the Jazzmaster.
It was a Jazzmaster,
Oh,
I think. Sam Pura has one. I think when he was doing the 100th record or something, they had a Fender deal, so he was like
Great.
got the artist price or some shit.
Great.
So I touched that thing and was like, oh, that's the rhythm tone right there. And then I think it was he's got a couple guitars. We usually use his stuff when we record just because they're set up and like good to go.
Of course.
And he's an Evertune guy, which I hate. And so like part of the like recording thing, the give and take, I
Yeah.
like really like clear pop productions. And
Yeah.
his work with like Story So Far and 100th and like bands in his discography where I listen back and I'm like, oh my God, it's so clean and like punchy and big. I want to do that, but like with thrash. And so part of that is like me, even though I hate using the Evertunes, like quad tracking, meticulously doing it
Yeah.
piece by piece. And I'm like, it takes all the fun out of recording, but I'm getting closer to like that guitar tone on a record that's in my head, you know?
Yeah.
Like that journey is still like, I
Oh,
think I'm going to
dude.
hit it on the next record. I'm
Yeah.
sure everybody says that, but like,
Sure. I get it. It's like in your head and you try to get it on the fucking record. It's like, why isn't it sounding like it?
Yeah.
It sounds in my head. And then that makes you go to the next record and then so on and so on.
yeah,
You know?
and I like that too. Like the recording and the creating part is by far my favorite. Like playing shows is fun. Like there's that, it's exciting or whatever, and like
Yeah.
makes you feel good. But the fun part is like dialing in like the guitar tone, and you're like, I did it. But
This
then I
is it.
listen to it too much, and then like
like,
now
oh,
I
sucks
listen.
now.
Yeah, now I, exactly.
terrible.
Now I listen to Deathwestern. I'm like, fucking guitar tone sucks. Like, god damn it, next one, the next one.
How did you come up with the album title Deathwestern?
I was gonna,
It's a great title, man.
yeah, and it fit into it. So it was a song title when I was writing the record. So I had it. It was just gonna be a song, and I think Getter asked me on like a conference call or something. It was like Century Media and like some management folks, but somebody was asking me. Somehow Getter jumped on it, and it was like like they pumped it as like they played Deathwestern. But that came about because I had like the song title, and I was like, this is a badass song title. I don't have a riff or anything yet, but like this is a cool title.
Wow.
And then on like a conference call when they were asking me like, well, what should we say the type of music is with you blending this? I'm like, well, I like this song title Deathwestern. That could be like the next album title actually. And they're like, oh, that's perfect. And so then it kind of morphed into like them marketing and doing their thing where like,
Interesting.
yeah. So I get people asking me like, you're creating a new genre. I'm like, pump the brakes, Playboy. I'm just like, you know, it is what it is. But like that Deathwestern title just, I don't know where it came from. Just mixing death metal and
It's you, though.
Western. It's simple, but it's kind of catchy enough where it like, it's perfect, you know?
Dude, coming out with those simple two words and putting them together, that's the hardest thing. And dude, I consciously do it all the time. It's so hard to do, man. You got it.
Yeah, and it's hard to like, when it happens, like you always feel way smarter. But the truth is like, it's a total accident, you know?
It's always an accident, dude.
Yeah, like Spiritworld, Deathwestern, and all these things fit so well together. But like, I couldn't do it again. Like if somebody was like, dude, you're a genius at branding and marketing, help me. I'd be like, I can't help you. I don't even know how I'm doing it. You know, it's just dumb luck and I don't know.
Do you think it's there's like a parallel with you being disciplined and hard work that those ideas just kind of fall out of the sky?
I think so. I spend so much more time focusing on this stuff and like the work aspect of it than, I mean, an incredible amount of time. So to me, I feel like I work really hard and I get very little great riffs, great ideas, great like visuals, but I get just enough that we need. I got an album title. I got like, you know, a cool look for the band. So it's like you only need half a dozen of these kind of great ideas, but for the time spent, it's like I don't do it quick. I can tell you that. Like, it takes me a long time there's a lot of shitty
Of course.
song titles, that. So yeah, I would say 100%. It's all just the maniacal amount of work that goes into trying to like mine for gold. That's it. And then you get that you get the one keeper,
Yeah. It's like you're mining for gold without trying.
Yeah.
And then you just happen, this one, nugget of gold hits your, your mind out of nowhere. Like, what the heck, where'd that come from? Oh yeah, you've been mining for fucking 5 years.
Yeah, that's the other thing too. Is like a lot of people ask me like how when I'm writing, like, because the blend of like we don't do clean singing or anything, but we're not like we don't sound like everybody else, but we do have like I guess we mix a few different like underground genres that people don't typically mix the way that we do, and I'm just like. That's just the shit I like, Like, number one, I'm just a fan, so trying to write a record that I will truly love is the goal. And then I love, like, old Obituary, like Slayer. But I also grew up, like, through that golden age of hardcore where, like, shit like Hatebreed, Strife, like that stompy, like, era. I love that stuff. And so, like, combining all those things to me is just, it's easy because that's the stuff I like,
Yeah. It seems like you never compromise your vision at any point.
Well, when you cut out that's why I don't like getting in a room and writing or like any of that stuff because I just want to do what I want to do, As selfish as that sounds, it's like.
Sometimes you got to do it, man.
Yeah, and it's like I'm doing it for me at the end of the day. Like I didn't plan on doing a whole lot with this band and it just so happens that like all these opportunities pop up that I'm taking advantage of, but it's like I would still be making these records with or without Century Meter or anybody. You know what I mean? Like, which sounds weird to like, because some people need to like tour or get like that kind of fanfare or something out of it, money or like get a business. But I really like records, man. Like you said, when you stumble on a band that you like, I do that every week. I just like am constantly looking for finding like. I need that new song, that new band. Yeah. And that's like just a part of my life for so long. I don't know. So I try and make that band. I try and be that band,
Yeah.
I want to be the band that if I found, I would literally just like have to call my brothers, my best friends and be like, holy shit, dude, this is the band. You know what I mean? Like when you're young and you like feel that passionate about music.
Oh yeah, man. So it's cool.
It doesn't happen as much anymore. Like it's rare when a band really kicks my teeth in where I'm just like, holy fuck.
Yeah.
But like that's kind of the goal too. Is like I want to be that band for somebody else.
Yeah. Yeah, we're very similar in that way. Where like we like just try to create your own favorite band.
Yeah. It sounds simple, but
it's not. Yeah. It sounds stupid. But yeah, when you actually try to do it, oh man, try to get that sound out of your head. It's tough.
Yeah, and I was just listening to a lot. Like I said, I heard the pod with Dino on it, but I've been going back listening to Fear Factory quite a bit over the last year. And like I remember being in high school, they toured with Slayer, and all my friends went to this show in Boise and came back and were just like, Fear Factory fucking blew Slayer off the stage. And I was just like, go fuck yourself. Like, no way. And for whatever, like when you're young and you just can't like really get into something, I would just like could not really truly love Fear Factory until later. And now like I keep going back to their first like 3 records and I'm just like, fucking incredible. God, what a fucking band. Over and over. Like, I don't know. So I think I do that too, where it's like you go back to things that 20 years ago people were telling me, this is the best. This is the band. And I was too stupid or obtuse, whatever, to hear it then. And then you know.
It's cool to go back on like, oh, wow, why did I not love this back then?
Yeah, and I think as you grow up, too, you just stop ever hating on anything because maybe I can't hear it now, but I know myself, and in 10 years, this could be my favorite record. So that's generally what I say. If someone tries to turn me on to something, I'd be like, cool. Like, I can't hear it right now, but maybe, I'm open. At some point, this could be my shit,
Yeah. Dude, I remember in high school, like, there was, everyone was jamming Dystopia. and I just didn't get it back then. But now it's like, I turn in my 30s, love dystopia, obsessed with dystopia. It's so weird how like your taste can change and evolve.
Yeah,
you know.
And I think it's cool too if you're open to it. That's where like when you're young and you shut yourself off because you're only like into these little narrow things, you know? Yeah, it's nice to, I just like finding new shit. That's the main thing. I like making new songs. Like, I don't want to listen to the last song I did. I want to make the new one, you know? I want to find the new band.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's that hunt. It's like the collector syndrome, you know?
Not a lot of people have that, like that, this constant hunger or just constantly hunting for like, new bands. It's a special person, man. If you look at a lot of your friends, like not everyone has that hunger.
No, and I don't know. I think I've always just been like that. Like it's I don't know. It's fun, you know?
It is.
Like it's nice. And it's that little joy you get when you find something cool, you know?
Yeah.
I've been listening to a lot of like there's a lot of the new kind of American skinhead bands going that just just oi stuff that like I love oi, but like you go through phases where like I've heard every fucking band. You can only listen to Cockspar so many times, but then there's all this new stuff popping off like Liberty and Justice and all these cool bands all over the US. So I've been like the last few months just jamming the shit out of that too. Like I don't know, man.
Yeah, and then you go through phases. Is this the band you're talking about?
Yeah, I love Cockspar. That's like, I mean,
it's a sick band name.
Literally, Shock Troops is one of the best albums of all time, no doubt.
What's it called?
Shock Troops, man, right there.
Oh wow. Oh,
that's like first wave punk rock, late 70s.
Late 70s.
They don't get the cred in the U.S. that they should, but I mean, front to back. Classic, 10 out of 10.
Where are they from?
They're from England somewhere.
Why is there a lot of great punk rock come out of England? I don't know.
Hard to say, man. A lot of good stuff. But there's a bunch of cool new bands. Liberty and Justice out of Houston. Conservative Military Image, I think, like out of Chicago.
They were newer?
Yeah, Slugger, I think, is out here. And
Slugger, what a sick fucking band.
Dude, Slugger's tight, man. I don't know if you guys are like, whoever listens to this pod, this is a heavy pod, but this is like, I listen to a lot of stuff, man. I love punk rock, love, street punk, oi, all that stuff.
There's a lot of, versions of heavy, man.
Yeah.
To the oi stuff, the punk, the metal, the thrash.
Anything underground, too, like whether it's, deathcore, death metal, thrash, black metal, like all that stuff, like, I don't know. I pull from all of it. I dig it,
It makes sense when I listen to Spiritworld. You just throw everything in there,
I do, and like that's what I mean on the new record. Like I found another way to blend some more of this stuff. So like I'm gonna bring in some more of the four on the floor, catchy punk rock, like where the bridge you bring it into more of a sing along thing. Because I haven't been doing that. I've been doing a lot of just like, fuck you, here's like the 8 hardest riffs I wrote the last month. How do I put them together and just like beat your head in? So now I'm going to do some more, kind of bring some other stuff into it,
That explains like you being so hungry and just finding new bands and going back to older bands. Like Spiritworld has this thing where only a few bands have, only a few of them, where like you could kind of play any show. It's like you could go play with Agnostic Front. Then you can play with Obituary. Today you're gonna play with like a deathcore band with a Sulfur. Like only a few bands can do that.
Yeah, and the cool thing is we don't fit in with anybody because we're so like we come out in like rhinestone suits looking like a honky tonk band. And so like when we were on tour with Agnostic Front, like we're playing in like Berlin, and there's people that have been watching Agnostic Front for 30 years that like when we walk out, the vibe is fuck this band. Like they're just looking at us like, what is this garbage? These dudes have cowboy hats on. And then halfway through the set, like you just see them break down and they just can't help headbanging a little bit.
Wow.
And then afterwards they come up, buy a record, and it's like having that, being a little fearless too. Like it takes a little confidence to walk out into a room to a bunch of like, traditional skins and punk rock dudes and then play thrash metal in rhinestone suits. But if you can like get over the hump of like not giving a fuck what anyone thinks because the set is really good, Like, you can win people over, man. Like, and that's how you fit in. At least for me, it's like have a crazy idea and then don't be afraid to put yourself out there. Like, I don't care if it's, we played with like Mind Force and Drain. That was our last show, like huge, like new school hardcore show.
Yeah.
So you play that, and when we play, like all the lights cut off, and it's like we put on a show, so it's a totally different vibe than every other band. And then, you know, our next big tour will be with Sepultura, where it's like old school thrash legends, 3 of them. You know, it's like, and then us. So it's, I think it's important to try and. Who wants to be in a box? You know what I mean? It's like, I want to be able to play with all my favorite bands, and I have such eclectic taste. Like, I couldn't imagine doing it any other way. Like, you got to be able to, like, you know?
Yeah. So when you're playing with Agnostic Front, like you're talking like old school hardcore, like wait, like, and you're wearing what you're wearing, and what's like, can you see like the reaction in their faces?
Yeah, no one had ever heard of us because that was our second time to Europe. And like I said, we've only been playing shows for a year. So, like, we went over and did Bloodstock and did a handful of shows in August. And then we did a U.S. tour with Creeping Death and 200 Stab Wounds, which that one, like, that's the new school, you know, like, new wave of old school American death metal thing going on, which is also cool. But, like, those kids all come out of the hardcore scene to some extent, so there's a lot of crossover.
Yeah.
And then the Agnostic Front one, like, yeah, it's an older crowd, and they had their whole run on Epitaph, so they have a lot of people that love, like, their melodic, like, anthemic songs, you know what I mean? So, like, we come out, and it's just brutal, heavy shit.
Dude, it's crazy. You're only been, like, your first record came out a year before this, and you're already playing a European festival.
Yeah, man. Crazy.
Yeah, well, you guys are fucking nuts, dude.
Well, and part of it, like, I was in old hardcore punk bands, like, and you just learn, like, if you want to be successful and, like, carve it out, you got to get to Europe. And so it's like you can wait 2 years or you can, like, go kick the door in. And so that's one thing, as much time as I spend on the writing and creating all this stuff, like, you got to put yourself in the best position to succeed, you know? That's why a guy like Mike Gitter, who he's like me, he's always finding new bands.
Always, dude.
Like, that's another freak, you know? But like a guy like that, like, that's my segue into getting distribution by Sony, you know? Get picked up, have them re-release the album that I released DIY, and then that's how we were able to get to Europe, you know? So it's like those 2 things, it's like you got to know who books the bands you love. And, like, randomly Nick Storch hit me up because he loves Pagan Rhythms. So right then I was like...
Random.
I was like, that's the best guy. Like, if I could pick a booking agent, that would be the guy. And he's already, like, showing his cards that he loves my band. So then it's like, well, shit, if Nick Storch loves my band, this is going to be crazy, you know?
You manifested without even trying.
I think part of it was because, like, I kind of knew what to do if you had it popping, you know, like for being around and knowing a lot of people, and then not having like the like, I didn't need any of this to happen, but I was smart enough to, like, pay attention and be like, but if it was going to happen, these are the people that, like, you connect with, and these are the things you do to go break a band, you know?
Dude, that's like you just have like this natural quality, because the question like you get is like it's old. Like, you know, how do you get a manager, Garza? How do you get like a booking agent? You're like, I don't know.
You write a record that makes those people fucking, like, when they hear it, go, yo, and then they call somebody and say, you hear this? It's the same thing. It's like it happened. Dude. Like, it's not because I'm anybody's darling. Like, I'm not in the clique. I'm nobody's like boy. So it's like make a record. Like, that should be the most important thing. Instead of, like, getting with your friends and putting out those 5 songs immediately for $1,500, it sounds like shit and you love it. Like, take time, man. Like, make the art number one, and then it cuts through the noise.
Yeah, if you're willing to put in that time.
Yeah,
you know,
the time and money, because, like, I recorded Pagan Rhythms, like, all that's out of pocket. And, I mean, I spent the same amount on that Century Media gave me for our next record, you know? So it's like...
Whoa, really?
I'm willing to, like... I believe that I can make a great record, and I knew to make a great record, like, you gotta get in the studio. It's gonna cost you, like, $10,000. Like, what if no one buys it? It's like, well, I'm out 10 grand, but I'll be proud of a record. And like,
Yeah.
no one was pushing me to do these things. You know, there's no outside pressure. It was all just self-driven. So then when I put it out, like I sold out the first vinyl pressing like within months. So it was like immediately it's like, okay, the record's good, you know? Like you don't need hype if like the shit's good and it does it itself. You know what I mean?
When the music does it itself.
Yeah, like
Whoa.
the artwork and the music, like I don't know. And I realized that I like have a good career, and so I come from a place where like I could save up money and be like, I don't need help. I can write the whole thing. I can record it. I can pay for a pressing, and if I lose out, like it'll suck, but I'm willing to do it because I need to make a record. Like,
Yeah.
and I realize that's an incredibly like blessed position to be in.
Yes.
There's a lot, even like 5 guys sometimes can't figure out how to get $3,000 each to do their songs justice, you know?
Yeah, man. You just had that freaking natural something inside you. I'm always kind of like fascinated. Where does that shit come from? I don't know. It's weird.
I don't think it's,
I don't know.
you know, people ask me, and I don't think it's talent. I think it's almost like a level of, maybe it's like just like a love letter type thing, you know? It's like that pride, maybe, you know? It's like, if you're going to make a record, like what's stopping you from making a record as good as like your favorite indie label, you know? Whether you're into like metal or whatever, pick your favorite label. If it's $20 spin, like how much do they spend on these records, you know?
Yeah.
They all use the same 20 engineers, the same 20 producers. They master them. It's like nothing really truly separates you from any of that, at least in this day and age, you know?
It's true.
Like, so if you know what they're doing and you have good songs, like, why can't you make a record that immediately catapults your band? Like, the answer is you can. Just do the work, you know?
Yeah, I mean, you put out like the first record being independent, and I just got it picked up by, I mean, literally like from a label, from a booking agent, or people just want to work with you.
Yeah.
You know, it's crazy. Let's Deathwestern, the cover. What
James
is that?
Bousema from Las Vegas. Everybody that worked on the record, all the artwork and layout are all my friends from Vegas. So, like, we went and ate tacos at
Good start.
at El Puerto Moriscos. I sat down and I was like, "Here's the idea for the record. I want to take because I wrote a book of short stories that came out with Pagan Rhythms. It has all the characters. It's this big concept between the records and the book. So I was just like describing the characters I wanted. I'm like, I want a 1960s like horror movie poster or an old Western where you take the characters and you just like. So basically, I just asked him to draw me a movie poster, and then he gave me some sketches and was like,
Jeez, man.
what coloring do you like? And he had, I got to post it, but we have like 3 or 4 of the other colorways and like the sketches. They're pretty cool, but I love the orange. I'm like,
It fits,
super
man.
bright, and it doesn't look like anybody else. So I'm like, that's the one. Like big ass cowboy on it, smoking. Let's go.
Sticks out. It fits the vibe. Man, it fits like the record title. Everything.
Yeah, man.
Dude, it's hard to get all those elements to align. And it's a fucking special thing when all those things just line up.
And it doesn't like, I didn't like peg him to do the record. Actually, Gitter wanted, he had this Frank Frazetta piece, and I love Frazetta, and it was like something from the 70s where it's like an Indian and a cowboy like tussling with a tomahawk like in the dirt. It's pretty violent, like it's a great picture. And so he talked to the Frazetta's daughters that like handle his estate now and got permission to license it because they won't license stuff to just anybody, you know?
Yeah.
And so on one hand, I was like, my older brother that plays bass loves Frank Frazetta, Death Dealer, all this comic book shit.
Yeah.
And so he's like, on one hand, shitting his pants. He's like, dude, you can get a fucking Frazetta? Do it. And like I wanted to, but then on the other hand, I was like, yeah, but it doesn't have the characters from like my book. Like I want to get like somebody that can custom do it. And every artist I hit up was like, nope, can't do it. Not for that budget. Like if you want an actual painting with all this like custom bullshit, fuck you. I'm not the guy. And then we played with Municipal Waste, and the guy Tony was like, "Oh yeah, check this out," and showed me the cover of their last record, and it was my buddy from Vegas did it. I was like, "Fuck, I'll hit him." I was like, "I'll fucking hit him up." And it wasn't their record; it was actually the tour art for the tour we were on.
Yeah,
he drew this like Minotaur with like a battle vest with all like the bands on like patches, just crazy shit.
Yeah,
and I was like, well, if he can do a fucking Minotaur with a bunch of heavy metal like patches on it, maybe he can do my movie poster, you know?
Yeah, you really combine like not only like music stuff, but like like stuff from like film.
Yeah,
like
it would have been sick to do Frazetta, you know? Like I love his style, but at the same time, like I do have this big I like my own stuff. Like I want to build my own like mythology with my band, and it's like as cool as it would be to license that. Everybody does that, you know. You pick a great artist, you license something, it doesn't actually fit with the subject matter. You're lucky if it does somehow, some way, like conceptually, but sometimes that's random, you know.
Sure.
So like for me, like I really wanted to have just build my own shit, you know. That's always cooler to me, I think. Like
it is, man. You gotta, I mean, you want to be a leader.
Yeah, he just did the new Frozen Soul that's coming out. He did the cover of that. I think they just released it on their new single that came out, I think yesterday.
Really? Came out?
Yeah.
That's another band name I heard about from the famous Mike Gitter.
Yeah, Frozen Soul rules, man.
What's their sound like? I never jammed them.
They're like old school death metal, like little
Shit.
Chainside, but like they're heavy as fuck.
Yeah.
And they're like all Texans, just like giant dudes. They're great, man. They fucking bring out a snow machine at some of their shows, make the lights blue. They have this whole like fetish for everything cold. So like
Frozen Soul.
Cold school death metal, baby.
Oh, just from that logo. Okay, we're fucking serious, dude.
Yeah, that's a new one. So
that's serious.
Yeah, James did that one too. It's sick.
Really? Mm-hmm. Whoa. What is going on there? What's happening?
I don't want to. He showed me. We had lunch a couple weeks ago, and he showed me all the artwork. But I'll let them reveal their.
Yeah, that's
thing.
fucking.
They have. There's
intense.
some cool. There's some cool stuff with that artwork that ties into it, like the front and back. It's tight.
A full on like concept.
Yeah, it's cool, man.
I love that shit, man. When like there's like really thought put into it. Who mixed your last record?
Sam Pura. He engineered, mixed, and then he was gonna master it, and then this dude Alberto in Austin. What were we doing? We were I think we were trying to see if anybody could beat his master, because we had a mastered version, and so we had 2 or 3 different people like do a test master, and this friend of Sam's, Alberto, just fucking crushed it, man.
Sounds great.
Yeah.
It reminds me of like a 90s like Colin and Richardson mix.
Exactly. That's like the reference stuff that I was showing Sam. I'm like, dude, the old like the Machine Head, all these like Roadrunner releases that came out.
Colin
so
Richardson.
Good, man.
Yeah, Jay, look up Colin Richardson. I'm curious like the records he did in like the 90s. Like so.
Oh, fucking Bolt Thrower, Machine Head.
He did Bolt Thrower?
Yeah, fuck yeah.
Oh my goodness, dude.
Yeah, he rules, man. And he doesn't do a lot of interviews and stuff.
I wonder why. He should.
I don't know. There's very little stuff, but he's got some incredible albums, man.
Machine Head. What record did he do? That
Burn My Eyes, man.
Burn My Eyes. Okay.
And I think I want to say he's definitely like in England somewhere too, man.
He is in England, yeah. He did Cannibal Corpse, Bloodthirst. I know that because I always like kind of go on that record. When did Bloodthirst come out? That's 90s, right?
I don't know what year that one was. Late 90s, probably.
Bloodthirst has to be 90s. 99. Boom. Oh, barely got it, dude. Barely got it. Yeah, that's a fucking Colin mix, man. Classic.
Yeah. I love those, like I love the big, when the old industry when they had the majors and the bigger indies when they would spend 200 grand on a record, you know?
Yeah.
And it's like, those are the ones that I can't get out of my head because it's like the classic like Ministry albums and Fear Factory, Machine Head, like Life Agony, even like Madball, like the bands that like were coming out on Roadrunner like in the 90s, like the polish and the drum tones and the sounds, I'm just like, they're so fucking good, man. And it was all the tape. Like it was in that transition where it was still like really nice studios, huge budgets. And like those are the records where I'm like, in my head, I want to sound like that, but like modernized. You know, like just pick my favorite parts of those productions. So it's yeah, I mean those are like that's a dream, man, you know. Make something that shits on Colin Richardson. Like, can you do that? Is that possible? Like probably not, but like that should be the goal, you know.
Yeah, I mean, it's nothing like a good fucking like sounding produced record.
Yeah, and I love big ones. Like I'm not afraid of like the pop sound. So I like if you listen to Deathwestern in headphones, like there's a lot of space. Like you can hear like, and it's just really punchy and dynamic. Like I hate the compressed. Like a lot of records when you listen to them, it's just so compressed, and you just don't have like that pop. You know, I like that big shit. You know.
Yeah, there's like a big sonic difference from the first record to your second record.
Yeah, and that's like being critical,
purpose.
like the not having the time, because Pagan Rhythms, like I paid for it and it was like good, but it was also like there's a lot of things. It's like, okay, out of money, out of time, sounds good, like let's go. And then for the next one, me and Sam were like, okay, we're gonna fucking hit this one out of the park, you know?
It's crazy how you could go do like the same person, but it will sound the next record will sound completely different.
Yeah,
it always kind of blew me away just by having like a couple like conversations prior, like a couple.
The mixing on Deathwestern, I've never done it like this, but we did it remote where I would log in. He has a way to do a stream, so I'm hearing the sound that's coming out of his computer in the studio, and so for like a month, dude, like I would get off work. Like when he'd get in there, we'd spend 4 or 5 hours a day, like just mixing the fuck
You serious?
out of Deathwestern. Like more time spent on that than like probably any other piece of the like recording thing. And it was like the last week, all that time, like we thought we had some good rough mixes. And then something happened in the last week where it finally like just happened where it's like, holy shit. And it just sounded incredible. And if we hadn't have spent that much time, like, it wasn't there. It sounds crazy, but like all that tweaking out on it, thinking it sounded good, it was like the final like 10, 15 hours, it just came together. Like finally got the guitars to sit, the drums, everything, where it was just like, boom, that's it.
That sounds like a lot of agony.
Horrible. That's why I can't listen to it. That's why like all that time listening to it, I'm just like, one day, 10 years from now, I'll revisit these and I'll probably love them. But right now, no.
So wait, you mixed it remotely. So you hear what he's hearing where you're at.
Yeah, and
I never heard that in my life.
Dude, the COVID shit, man, like opened up a whole new world of doing things. At my job too, like I never worked remote before. I've always been like in construction type shit, and I moved into process management. And I have a remote job now where it's like I do a lot of the things. I don't go in for meetings. I jump on Zoom and it's crazy. Like I'm a virtual guy. Like, and I never, my job didn't exist a couple years ago, and it damn sure didn't exist the way that we do it now, you know?
Yeah.
Same thing with mixing a record. So like all these like technology, like weird things, all just kind of work in my favor too, like dumb luck. Because I couldn't have went up to the studio and spent that much time. Like, no way.
Yeah.
But being able to knock out 3 or 4 hours,
wow.
You know, jump on, sitting in my bed with my cat, like, you know, Jen would come walking in from work and I'd be like, headphones on, like listening to it and be like, no, bro, the fucking snare. It's like, the snare needs to go up. And then you get the snare up and then you lose like the, whatever it is. Like, that's what we did day after day. It's like, this sounds good. This sounds fucked. This sounds good. This sounds fucked.
You're fired.
Bounce it down. Bounce it down. And like that was another thing with the label where like everybody has an idea of like who should we have mix it, who should we have do this. And I already knew I was going to do the record with Sam, so I was a pretty bad creative partner for Gitter and like the label and everybody and our management, because I'm like, yeah, I love all the guys you're talking about. When I'm done, if you don't like the mix, then we can have somebody else take a crack at it. But like, I got it. Don't worry.
You see, that's always like the tough part, which you know, got me through this. Like when at what point do you like you listen to somebody, and you know when not to listen?
You got to go with your gut. And when you're younger, you think everybody knows they have this special experience, life experience, talent, and they know more than you. Mm-hmm. And I learned in my like business career and like in the band stuff, nobody spends as much time as I do with my stuff. Nobody. Mm. Like I spend thousands of hours on it, and everybody else that ever like comes in with an opinion, maybe they listen to the demos that I sent them to check out. Maybe they listen to them 3 times.
Yeah.
I've listened to them 100 times.
Yeah.
And maybe they've worked with like Arthur Risk. I love his productions on like Power Trip. He did the new Creator. Mm-hmm. Like there was a bunch of great guys that I would love to work with, like respect their work. But like me and Sam have a special connection of like making records that nobody else understands. And so I just had to like, you just got to be unafraid to go with your gut. That's it. And there's no wrong answer because it's art, right? Like you could have had 5 different guys mix it. But like you got to believe that, you got to believe what you're doing is special, you know? And if something's that special to you, like I really believe like, would you just have somebody that's never heard your band like come in at the last second to mix it? Like, is that special? Or is it special to have the guy that like you recorded your demo, Pagan rhythms, everything, that's like, that's your fucking boy that's got to spend a month mixing it because it's important and he knows how special it is for you to like get this record out?
Yeah.
Like to me, even if we would have fucked it up, like that experience in some ways means more than having like a named guy in the metal scene. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So I don't know, man. It's like no one can do it for you. You just got to know when to take somebody's good idea and when to say, I got it, man. Like, just trust me. If I fuck it up, I'll own it, but I got this.
Yeah, there's such a struggle, like when, you know, like the word ego comes to mind. You know, is it like, is it going with your gut? Is it ego? Is it your real vision? And is the ego off when you really stick to your guns?
Well, that's the thing where you fuck it up. Like if the record sounds really bad and like you don't hit it out of the park, but you're the one that's saying, no, I got it, I'm right. Mm-hmm. Then it's probably ego and you're probably an asshole. You know, you probably should have listened. You probably should have listened to somebody, but it's a fine line. Like
it's a fine line, dude.
Yeah. And you got to roll the dice too, because it's so easy to mess up records, especially mixing and engineering. Like everybody that's ever made a record knows, like it's always about to just go off the cliff, you know?
It's like, damn, are we about to break up right now? It's always going.
Yeah, and I just think that I'm in a lucky position where like I have a really close friend with a great studio that like we're trying to capture the same thing, and like this third record, like we both have an even better idea of where we're going with it. So I think the leap from Pagan Rhythms to Deathwestern to the new one, like when we're done, like people will see like it's going to be a sonic like thing. You know what I mean? Which I think is cool. Like not a lot of bands get to do that, where you have like multiple records with the same team, everybody 100% like firing on all cylinders, trying to like crush it. Like that's also a blessed place to be, you know?
Yeah, it sounds like you have like this deep connection. Like you found someone that like just shares like the vision and is trying to get what you have in your mind or what you're hearing out. Okay, you're trying to get this out into the speakers.
Yeah, man.
You know.
And the other thing I really like about Sam is we do not like the same music. Like,
oh wow,
like he loves nu metal. Like he's younger than me, so he's like a big nu metal guy. Nice. But he loves fucking pop music and like all kinds of shit that I don't listen to.
Wow.
So when he gets excited about like an arrangement or like some of the production choices, and he's like really geeking out over it, sometimes I don't even know what he's talking about. Like, I can't even hear it. Like, he's one of those guys that, you know, can like hear and be like, oh, the overheads, the clarity, and there's like transient detail here. And I can't tell the difference. He's like A-Bing with like some plug-in on, and I'm like, dog, like, cool. I'm glad you're stoked because I literally can't tell the difference of what the fuck you're talking about. But
Sick.
he's like got the weird, he's got the geek thing, you know? Which is, I don't have that. I can't listen to something and be like, oh, you need to knock out some 4K here, dog. Go ahead and notch the EQ. Like, I'm not that guy, so I have to like, I don't know. You got to have a team, man. Especially like if you know you're not great at something, you know?
So there's trust there. There's trust involved from your side.
Yeah, and that's a big thing, man. Like, you just got to say, I can't hear what he's talking about, but I believe he knows what he's talking about. So do it, man.
That's such a fucking hard balance, dude.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness, dude. Yeah,
Because that could bomb too, you know?
Yeah,
That's the other
dude.
thing. Like,
oh yeah, we definitely had that. Yeah.
But we also, we're real adamant about Thomas Pridgeon played drums on the record, and he's incredible drummer. But I didn't want to have like a bunch of samples on the snare or like
Sure.
kicks that weren't ours. So like we did sample everything, but it's him on the fucking
Yeah.
snares we used, tuned different, whatever. But like we just blended all of our samples. And so I've had a lot of people tell me like, oh yeah, your drums are programmed and like just say shit like that. And I'm like, no, they're not,
Shut up.
motherfucker. This is all like literally crazy performances captured. It's just like, you know, the way you do it, man.
Isn't that like, I'm not saying he started doing this, but isn't that like what Colin does? Like it basically like the performance is there, everything's mic'd up, and then you do like the sound replacing, so you get the sound, but you get the feel.
Yeah, yeah. And it's like there's different I'm big into like I just geek out over production of records. Like
Same.
and I looked at a lot of like Tom Petty stuff that he did with Jeff Lynne, where like that production style where instead of recording the entire drummer playing the whole kit, it's like other people do it too. Like Eric Valentine did it on the Queens of Stone Age record, the one that Dave Grohl played on, where it's like, don't play the fucking no hands, don't play the cymbals. And so they like track them differently. So Dave Grohl doesn't know the songs and he's like playing by feel. So then when they go back and try and like comp the takes together, it's almost impossible. So like all those like little things, I geek out over records and I'm like, how the fuck did they get these drums like this?
Yeah.
Like why aren't the overheads and the cymbals washy? And it's like, oh, they recorded them separate. That's why there's no like tom bleed or snare or kick. It's like it's only the hi-hat being played and then they got to match it up, you know? But it's not to the grid. So like all those little things is what me and Sam like connect. We don't listen to the same type of music, but we listen to the same productions. And like even if it's a band he doesn't like, I'll send him and shit and be like, this production right here. And then we just break it down like, how the fuck did they do it? Google every person that worked on the record, like,
Dude,
just geek shit, man.
that explains a lot, and you'll be surprised. I've come to realize this. Not a lot of people do the googling and find the names and what studio and where at and what year. A lot of to us it's like, well, yeah, you were just doing it. You're just doing it, but a lot of people don't do that.
Yeah, and I love that stuff. Like when I hear a band I like or a record I like, like once the initial thing where I just listen to it and I'm just like, wow, this is great. Then I'm like, how'd they do it? Who wrote all the songs? Who produced it? Who engineered it? What studio did they use?
Who mastered it?
Exactly. Then I'm like, well, who mixed it? Who mastered it?
same.
Like, so it's like this whole thing. It's like I look at records more like how do you make a movie where nobody talks shit on a director for bringing in a great cinematographer, even though that guy totally shapes the tone, color, like visual of the film, you know? But like sometimes with music, people are like, oh, you write your song, but you're bringing in a producer that I don't look at it that way. I'm like, the end result is important. And if you have to get like specialized people to do it, like, I don't want to know like the recipe of the meal. I just want the meal to be banging. So like,
That's a good way to put it.
yeah, I take that approach too. Like if we've got to do some TD ass shit, like quad tracking guitars, even though I fucking hate it because you have to just, it takes the fun out of it. But how else are you going to get it that clean to where the end result is in the ballpark of what I want,
Yeah.
Which.
So you go into songs or a record or concept where you have the vision first, it seems.
Yeah.
When you have the vision first and what you have in your head first, and then you should try to execute.
Yeah, like for this new record, like I know what it, like it's gonna sound weird, but like I know it's gonna be a darker, like it's a trilogy, right? So it's like Star Wars. It's like this is gonna be like the dark cliffhanger. It's gonna be a much darker record, but I also want to have like I want to start it with like some like horror movie, like real gothic things, rip into a couple fast thrash songs. Then I want to do like some sort of like bluegrassy, like country stuff that's going to be kind of left field, but like I'm just mapping out the record. So it's like side A. Okay, I've got side A done now. And everything has to be vinyl. Like for me, like when I think about a record, because I came up in that era where it's like you got a side A and a side B. So side B, when you flip it over, it has to fucking punch you in the mouth. It has to be good. But it also, side B, for like a metal band, has to be as good as side A. You can't like have any filler. So like...
Wow, I never thought about it that way.
Yeah, so I don't know. I'm kind of I guess I'm a freak, but like I'm going to I map out the whole record, and then it's like, so what songs are actually in here? I'm like, I need 3 or 4 like fast, heavy thrash songs, and I've got 2 weird like kind of country-ish rockabilly things I want to do. And then I've got an outro and an intro. It can't be over like 35 minutes because that shit's fucking too long. Nobody can listen to a record longer than that. So it's like, carve all that out. And then on the other hand, I've got like all these riffs where I'm just like looping drums, riffing. And I'm like, now take those, carve those up. Where do they fit? Like, and I can't do that if I got to explain every step to like a homie and be like, here's this song, I'm going to do this. And then they have their idea. Like I have too many like goals I have to set for like each song and like for the record. So it's like, it's got to be like just in the trenches, like doing the work.
You're right, man. Like, I'm definitely a big guy. Like I always tell people, you got to jam in a room together in a full band. But you know what? Like, meeting, people like used to, like, it's not for everybody. Some people just work better alone.
And like I got a day job. It's like if I only did music where like we could just hang out and play, like it would be badass to like just play music with people all the time just for like to get that other like inspiration, like that weird stuff where the drummer hits like a groove you would never think of. But like also got to be realistic. Like I work for a living, so like ain't got time, ain't got the money. Like, so got to do it efficiently,
And time too, yeah. When it's just you, which you could just do so much more, and you don't got to worry about any bullshit around you.
Yeah,
you don't got to worry about this person. This person gonna wake up at noon, so I gotta wait. Let's fucking
and
wake
like,
up and start going.
I can be really hard on myself. I'm way harder on myself than I would be to you. Like if you showed me a cool riff, like I'm a bit of a people pleaser, so I'd be like, "It's cool, man," but like what I really want to say is, not good enough.
Your riff fucking sucks.
Yeah, it's like it could be there. If I were you, I would spend another 10 more hours and then come back. But like I'm not going to tell somebody that because I'm always way harder on myself. But like working solo, it's like I hear it and I'm like, it's not there. Fucking delete it. Like next, which it's a lot easier for me to like self-critique than it would be to like build that trust and not hurt somebody's feelings or like just cause a giant, shit show. You know what I mean?
Man, it just sounds, you're just putting hours in. Hours.
Yeah, man.
So it's no shortcut.
But, I love doing it. So it's like, that's the other thing that I think separates the men from the boys. Like, are you inspired? Like, do you love what you're doing? Because that's going to come through. Like, you can't fake that,
True. And you have a trilogy of videos for Deathwestern. Like, you also come up with the concept of the videos as well.
So the videos, a lot of that visually, the story stuff is an old friend of mine from high school that has been doing film stuff the whole time, like as a career. So like all these sick ass videos, they kind of fit into the world, but this is all my buddy Todd, like, and all his friends that work like on a super low budget, and I tell them like the basic premise, and then he's just like, what can we do? Can we burn down a church? We really wanted to burn down a church, but like we couldn't get the permits to like
Couldn't find the permits.
yeah, because it's a whole thing. And so like all the things that you see in these videos are like, we have really big, crazy ideas, and it's like, how do we do it? And then it's just same thing with Sam. It's like, this is one of my like super close friends that loves my band, loves the vision, and like gives a shit. So it's like our videos are gonna look like they're gonna look like we spent 10 times more.
They look incredible, dude.
Yeah, man. I like film stuff too, so it's like I don't want to be in a band that does a video where it's 4 guys in a dark room playing in a warehouse. Like, to me, I'd rather
Kill yourself, probably.
yeah, like that's not what I'm here for. Like,
Yeah.
I want to do a video where it's like people watch and they're like, "What is this shit? Like, is this a movie?"
So first you start with the premise, and obviously you take it to the pros, and hey, let's try this, and then and then try to execute.
And then a bunch of our friends, like everybody in these videos, is just like friends of friends that like
Oh wow.
are super talented. That like in Vegas we have a big showbiz. Like there's a lot of people that work on the Strip, so like we have people that are circus performers. Like the actress right there is like a contortionist professionally. Like
Holy.
and so we knew she was on board. So it's like, let's make her a demon. We'll kill her and then have her come back to life. And she does all this crazy. Whoa. She can like bend in half. So it's like, I could never come up with that. But when you know you have a world-class contortionist that like is one of the best in the world that works at Cirque, it's like,
Yeah.
there you go.
Oh my goodness, dude.
Yeah. I don't know, man. It's cool. Like all that artistic stuff. It's like when you get up for 10 years putting steel toes on, working construction, and then like over here, like the creative part, you just can't express it because you don't have an outlet. Mm-hmm. When you get the chance to do it, like fucking go hard,
Do it.
Like it's your band. Like everybody's got a guitar in a basement, like, but this is my shit. So it's like I want to do stuff that I'm inspired. Like I want my video to be like, crazy.
Well, that's accomplished.
Yeah, man.
It's so important how everything needs to line up. Like the music needs to be there, like the vision and the videos and the artwork. You got it,
dude. And
you fucking did it.
That's the thing that's like, when you look back at it, like being prolific is like one thing, but if the stuff is good, if you never relent where you're like every piece has to be good, then you can like truly be proud of your stuff. You don't have any of that cringy shit where you're just like, we phoned it in, and then excuses, no money, no time, whatever. But
when you deep, like when you phone it in and then you make excuses later.
You do, and
you
that's the
always
stuff.
do that,
like
dude.
I learned that the hard way, and like one part of me is like, never again. Like shit's got to be
Never again.
never. Like it's not worth it. I'd rather not do it than to phone it in.
Well, Stu, Spiritworld's badass.
Thank you, man.
Yeah, I think we should end it on a high note. I appreciate you making the drive down from Vegas. You got a sick ass show tonight.
Yep.
Playing with a deathcore band.
My boys of Sulphur, baby.
You guys could play any show you want. Let's go to the flyer. Holy moly, dude. You guys could play with Agnostic Front and then play the Affliction studio in Steel Beach.
Yeah, why not, man?
That's the dream, dude. Not many bands can do that. It's fucking badass.
Like I said, it's a blessed place to be, man. Build your band and your project how you want. Like, don't get put in a box.
Fuck no. Well, Stu, where can people find you, the band? Where should people go?
Shit. Instagram, basically. I don't. Our guitar player's doing it for me.
Cool.
So Spiritworld Prophet on Instagram, and then our web store's down for merch, but we're about to open it back up with somebody doing fulfillment. So spiritworldprophet.com will have all the merch. Give it a week or two.
Nice.
I don't know when this comes out, but yeah, man. Then we'll be on the road. Like
the road, dude.
That's it. Come out to a show.
All right, Stu. Thank you for your time. Can't wait to see the show tonight. I'm stoked.
Yeah, man. Stoked, man.
All right, everyone. That's it. Later.